Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 14, Episode 125. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation, getting back into our normal rhythm as the Pittsburgh Steelers have wrapped up the 2024 NFL Draft Weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Site's still very busy on Sunday, trying to get a more watchful eye on these names and waiting for any other news to break. So a ton of podcasts lately, Dave. Probably a bit shorter show today, but still some things to go through as we watch tape more on the Steelers' newest rookies.
Absolutely. Woke up this morning to Ezekiel Elliott back with the Cowboys. So interesting to see that news. I think he was kind of linked to him the last couple of days here. I guess too, let's see, this is the Monday after the draft. So by 4 o'clock, after 4 o'clock this afternoon, that'll be it of what they termed a compensatory signing period there. Alex, I got some news for you. The Steelers are not going to get any compensatory picks for
breaking my heart, Dave.
For 2025 there. It will be interesting to see either today or after today how many teams release a few veteran players here. I mean, the Steelers could certainly still use another wide receiver, a cornerback. So it will be interesting to see how if there are any players that the Steelers can use that hit the street here fairly soon. Normally you see a good handful of, usable free agents, I think, around this time here. So that's something to look forward to this week as well, too. And as you stated, now is the time when we start diving a lot deeper into these draft picks. It really is a fun time of year because instead of trying to cram a little bit about a lot of guys, you go a bit about a little amount of guys this time. And I even spent all day on Sunday getting my first contextualization of the offseason ready. This one will be on Roman Wilson, where I go through all 60-something targets that he had in 2023 and linking those up and having all the data around it. And after watching all those, we get a little picture painted, I think.
Yeah. Do you want to start there and just kind of give us into the post? I know it's not done. It's not up, I don't believe, quite yet by the time people listen to this, but just kind of give me a summation of your impressions, any thoughts and feelings that have changed on Wilson after doing that study.
Well, I tell you, first and foremost, I'll go ahead and throw out, let's see, we got 48 catches on 68 total targets. So he had a nice high catch percentage overall when it comes to that. We knew that coming into this. Looks like 221 yards after the catch on 48 total receptions. So how much of the total percentage of yards that he actually had? That would have been around 28% of his receiving yards, looks like, came after the catch last season. His average yards after the catch breaks down to 4.60. His average reception yards gained per reception, I think 16.4 there. Those are just the stats, obviously. When you get into the actual watching each one of these receptions, there is a lot of slot alignment for him and a lot of free releases for him. Even when someone, you'll see him either if he is stationary and not in motion at the line, he's a little bit offset of the line or in a bunch, or either in motion and at the time the ball snaps. So he's got a lot of free releasing going on here, at least last year when it comes to him. That plays into a lot of what we said, just recently here. You don't see him pressed at the line of scrimmage, much of any, and you don't see him really lined up as an outside wide receiver much at all. So, I think that's something that you got to be, cognizant of is, and now look, I think he's a good route runner. I think he can get separation out past the line of scrimmage and out in space. I think he's got a knack of finding soft area of zones. I think another thing that you're going to see in this contextualization, and Mike Tomlin mentioned this as well too, and this is something that we kind of knew was floating around about Roman Wilson ahead of the draft. A lot of catches in the middle of the field, a lot of them even between the hashes as well too, which is obviously a good sign there. But I come away with the biggest thing about his reception profile alone, that it's going to be interesting to see as he progresses in the NFL how he does when he's pressed and how he does when if asked to play more on the outside. Right. And all. So, I mean, this is a guy that really, based on the 2023 tape, you would project more as a slot guy.
I would, and that's where he's been. And that's why we go back to the conversation we had last Wednesday in our final mock drafts. And I'm kicking myself, and you were ultimately proven correct about including Roman Wilson. But the reason why I did not was my concern. This is a guy that is primarily a slot receiver for a team that may not run as much 11 personnel as recent seasons and needs an outside guy. But it's also why I wrote about yesterday, this team still needs to do work at wide receiver and the veteran market, whether that's for agency or possibly a trade, and add some sort of more, bigger physical veteran outside receiver like a DJ Chark, like a Michael Gallup, or maybe a trade for Cortland Sutton. They're not going to be the most amazing options, obviously, but I think you need somebody like that because Wilson, I think he can play outside, and I don't want to typecast him as a slot-only type of guy in this world where guys move around and very rarely are just a one position or one side type of player. There are limitations to his game, and he will have to learn, I think, how to work on his releases at the next level because he's not had to do that as much, hasn't seen as much press, which you don't see that much in the college game in general, and certainly not in a team like Michigan when you're playing in the slot and all the motions that they used him with. So there are things to work on, and I think by extension, still some holes for this team to address before camp begins.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, look, once again, I think his separation out, once he gets off the line at catch points is great. Another thing that kind of stuck out too, look, he can make contested catches. I mean, you definitely go back to that game against Nebraska, and that one in the end zone where he caught the ball behind the defender's helmet and all like that. He's got a few contested catches in his 2023 tape, but he wasn't in a lot of contested situations, to be quite honest with you. Because of the way he was released, because of the amount of catches that he got out of the slot with those free releases. There's not a lot of contested catches overall in the 68 targets that he had, because of the fact that he wasn't put in a lot of contested catch situations overall, be honest with you. There are a lot of catches in this contextualization where he's got not a lot of bodies close to him, if you get what I'm saying there. So sure. He does do a good job of getting open. Look, you can't fault him for being schemed up properly against opposing defenses, right? And him running the routes he's supposed to run. I think it runs a nice, out route as well. I think he's really, really good on the over. I think in extended play situations, which you'll see a handful of these, most notably in the red zone type situations there when the quarterback has to scramble or is holding on to the ball a little bit longer. He's just got a knack of getting himself free and specifically in the end zone there. So I think I'm going to try to get to his 2022 tape and do the same thing with that. And it looks like his 2022 tape has 41 targets in total. And I can tell you now, thanks to our buddy Andrew over at Pro Football Focus, looks like a lot of these are out of the slot as well.
Well, remember when we talked about this, you said in 21 he played more snaps on the outside than the slot. I don't know if to do a contextualization, but I'd be curious to dig into that 21 tape just to see what it looked like. He was still productive and had good numbers playing primarily on the outside. So I'd be curious what that tape looks like.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that because just statistically play-by-play data looking here in 2022, I mean, it's a lot of slot, Alex. I mean, it really
I think he played like 30 on the outside, you had said when we discussed it in 22.
2021, it looks like a lot less slot. A lot less slot. So maybe that looks like it's 42 targets in 20. So assuming I can get the tape easily, I ought to be able to knock that out pretty quick. So
sure.
And that was with it looks like Cade McNamara was mostly his quarterback. There's a little bit of JJ McCarthy in there, a little bit of Donovan Edwards in there. We'll look at that to compare and contrast to this 2023 contextualization there.
Okay.
But if you're listening, you've never seen the contextualizations before. What it is it goes play by play. You get the down, the distance, the quarter, the time. You get in this instance, I'll have where the target, where Roman Wilson was lined up at. You'll see a lot of slot in there, and then there'll be a link in each play category where you can go quickly watch the play in each situation there and kind of decide for yourself. So that's why we make these. We want to give a full representation of the player, not just us watching the tape and telling you what we think, although we're going to do that. But we've always been fans of giving the end user way too much information so they can decide and all. So Alex, I don't know if I'm going to have that. I'm going to try to get that 2023 contextualization up later on in the day, but it might just be prepared for it. Maybe not to go up until Tuesday, but I don't know how many of you. I know I gave you all those links to kind of watch. I don't think you were able to go through them all, but anyway, that's the long and the short on Roman Wilson for 2023.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, they're deep dives, and we are all about show, don't tell, and so that is what the contextualizations do really well. Again, I'm happy with the Wilson pick. Good hands, good route runner. Culturally, he's going to fit in well in terms of an effort guy, selfless kind of a guy. That's what you had to be in Michigan with all the talent they had and a pretty run-oriented offense that didn't throw it a lot, especially in red zone opportunities. So, again, I'm happy with the pick. I just recognize there are some things that this team will still need, some limitations to his game from a size profile, and some adjustments he'll have to make, even though he's coming from a big school that was coached well. He'll still have to learn, I think, how to work his hands and releases better because he just didn't have to worry about that too much at Michigan.
I mean, you look at his depth of completion. What did I write in my final mock about that on him? We know his average, let's see, depth of, if I have average depth of target. No, I know this is in my other stats, or I haven't gotten to adding up my actual contextualization yet. But when it comes to Roman Wilson, like I stated the other day, his average depth of target in 2023 was 13.1 yards, and his average depth of completion was 11.8 yards. I mean, that's not shabby at all. Once again, he's catching the football. He's being targeted down the field, and he's catching the football down the field. It's just the way he's getting there is a little bit different, it's a little bit different flavor of a receiver with him being out of slot and getting so many free releases.
Right. And I think we've talked about that quite a bit, and the study will shine a light on that being predominantly how he played and kind of suggesting some things he'll have to improve upon once he gets to Pittsburgh.
Without a doubt, this team needs to add another wide receiver. Put it to you that way.
For sure. I mean, I think that's almost a must at this point. And if you can let's just add in DJ Chark and Pickens on the outside with Wilson in the slot, just as your base 11 personnel type of offense with your tight ends, with your running game, with this great looking offensive line, I'll be happy with that complement of weapons.
Right. I agree. Now, what's going to happen to Calvin Austin?
Well, yeah, I mean, that going to camp, and he's kind of in the same bucket as Van Jefferson, Quez Watkins, and you get into camp and just see who emerges. At least Austin has some return value, and they were using him in punts last year, which will help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, those guys will have to fight and kind of show that they can bring something to the table and make some plays.
All right. I agree. All right. Where would you like to go to now?
We
both did a lot of film looking at yesterday.
Yeah, you were all in on Mason McCormick, myself, Logan Lee. But let's talk about something that we teased during yesterday's show. We should give the answer to today. Wrote about it for the site yesterday. It's currently at the top of the page. It may come down here in a little bit. But we talked about, where did this team rank Troy Fautanu? We knew they really were happy to get him. Omar Khan said right after the pick in that post-draft press conference that they had him rated highly. They were kind of sweating bullets, seeing if he would fall, and really surprised that he came all the way down to number 20, somebody that was viewed conventionally as a top 10, top 15 pick. But my strong belief, Dave, is that he was the number 7 overall player on their board. And I say that for a couple of reasons, but primarily if you go back to the actual draft call, and I'm really happy that Pittsburgh has released the draft calls for most of these prospects so far, but they released the one to Fautanu really quickly. And obviously, you focused on Mike Tomlin, talking to him and kind of the excitement, the conversation they had. But you can hear in the background, Kelvin Fisher, who's one of their senior scouts, and he turns to his left to Mark Sadowski, the director of player scouting, and you can very clearly hear him say 7 out of 20. And Sadowski just kind of nods, acknowledges it. And then Dan Colbert immediately to Fisher's left kind of pumps his fist. And so we know that Pittsburgh ranks their board 1 through 20, and whoever the top player on their board is when it's their time to pick is their selection. Again, we know they were very high on Fautanu, and according to Jerry Dulac the other day, they had him ranked as a top 10 player and the second best tackle behind Joe Alt. So we know he was somewhere between 1 through 10 and really 2 through 10 because Alt at the least was ahead of him. So based on all that information, my belief is that Fautanu was their number 7 player. They got at number 20, and that's why this team is so happy to get him where they got him.
That was quite the sleuthing for sure. And I think you properly, when you didn't set up the clip any way with us either. What you did is you said, what does he say here? You sent us the clip and you said, what does Kelvin Fisher say here to make sure we weren't getting an influenced, we weren't giving an influenced response to you. And I think you did that with me and who else did you do it with?
I put it in our group chat and just told our guys so I didn't, poison the well of, okay, I didn't want to start, because if you tell somebody, here's what someone said, you start hearing that yourself. If you just say, what did you hear without giving them any idea, you get a more honest and real reaction.
Right. And all of us, I think, agreed with you. Right. And
it's pretty clear. I think there's no denying. I even boosted the audio and posted it to Twitter. I mean, Kelvin Fisher, I think he definitely says 7 out of 20. The question is, what is he referring to? To me, logically, he was talking about where he was on their board.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I mean, all of it adds up together, quite honestly, when it comes to that, especially being right after the pick and all, and where you could foresee Fautanu being ranked on the board and all. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If you had to guess who were the top 6?
Well, there's a question of where their quarterbacks ranked, and we know that Mark Gorsak had spoken recently that under Kevin Colbert, in years where they had a prime Ben, they wouldn't even rank the quarterbacks because there was no need to do so. There was no consideration. And my guess is they probably didn't rank the quarterbacks this year because they have their quarterbacks, Omar Khan the one position he said they weren't taking in the first round was quarterback. So I think you only say that if your board does not show any quarterbacks on that list. So I'm going to look up the comment that somebody asked me about my response to that. If we exclude the quarterbacks, where they might have been, if I try to find what I had written to somebody, just give me 1 second. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. probably number one on their board again if we exclude the big three, big four at quarterback. I think Marvin Harrison 1, Joe Alt 2, Rome Odunze 3, Malik Neighbors 4, and then say Brock Bowers 5, maybe a defender, Dallas Turner 6, and then Fautanu is kind of my guess at it.
You think Brock Bowers would? I mean, how could it not? I mean, that guy, geez, they just knew. They just knew they weren't going to. I mean, obviously, you put players that you've got to rank them, right? Because you never know what's going to happen. And had you not ranked Fautanu, who most people consensus probably people thought wasn't going to fall to them, then you would have to have conversations while you're on the board. Hey, he fell. He's not on our board, that kind of thing there. So obviously, you can have conversations about who those 6 were, and it's a guessing game there. But I would imagine that you have probably at least 5 of the 6 of them, right?
Yeah, the only question is really, I think Harrison, Alt, Odunze, Neighbors, Bowers, and then the question is who might be that extra? Because again, the reporting is that he was the second-rated tackle, so none of the other tackles, Mims, Fuaga, Latham, none of them would have been ahead of Fautanu. So maybe a defender. I just guessed Dallas Turner, even though when they have drafted Dallas Turner, when you have DJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, it doesn't really matter as much. Right. But and again, I understand. It's not a shock to say, wow, they're happy about their first round pick. Yeah, they took him. They wouldn't have been they're not going to take a guy they weren't going to be happy with. But I don't know of any other time where we knew exactly, at least felt confident about exactly where a team had ranked a player on their board in Pittsburgh. We just always know we love this guy. He's high on our board, but where exactly does he rank? And I think it's the first time that I can remember feeling like I know where he was on the board.
I agree. Now let me tell you. Let me ask you this: because we always need to try to look at the other side where we get what kind of pushback would there be with your observation of all this?
Rarely, maybe the first time ever in the history of the internet, I didn't get any pushback. I didn't see one comment that
what?
Yeah. So I'm sure it's out there and I haven't seen it yet. But I honestly didn't see anybody that said, no, you're wrong. Again, we just don't know the context. In theory, it could have been, we don't know the context. So I can't say, 100% guarantee that that's what that was about. But what else would Kelvin Fisher say to Sadowski? And Sadowski didn't say a single word back. So it's not like something where Sadowski understood what he meant, but didn't have to communicate anything with him. And Dan Colbert was pumping his fist as Kelvin Fisher said that. So logically, I don't know what else it could have been about. Maybe somebody made a very funny comment that they were talking about how many of these donuts have custard filling, 7 out of 20. Yay. Like maybe it was about that. It could have been.
I don't know. Maybe they ordered off of, maybe somebody was taking a menu order and you had 20 items to choose from for the draft room meal and all. And they're all numbered. And he was telling Mark to let him know that he wanted number 7 out of, the number 7 meal out of the 20 meals listed. I don't know.
Right. And Dan Colbert went, good choice, and pumped his fist. I mean, that is possible. We can't rule that out. But I'll take their Fautanu ranking more likely to be the case.
Right. We do a lot of speculating, a lot of educated guessing, as we said at the end of the other show the other day. But Alex, I think that's a fine educated guess. And it's we don't know 100% if it's true, but I think it's 90 up there in the 90 percentile that it is. We'll probably never know if it's 100% true, but that's very good sleuthing. Good job there.
Yeah, I just totally by accident. I was just sitting there at 1 a.m. just trying to unwind, and I love listening to draft calls. The NFL has a video of every single draft call to all the first round picks. I just was watching that to enjoy that because they're fun and they're cool and just really awesome moments. And I mean, we'd all heard the draft call initially on Thursday night, but it was just in the moment of just the craziness. You're not even kind of being able to sit back and really enjoy it. You're just kind of, okay, here's what he says. He wrote about it, but listening back, the audio popped in. And so That's my guess. And listen, I mean, I hopefully the Steelers wouldn't be mad. Not that I care, but they shouldn't be mad about that. They should be happy that they got their top player. It's not even as crazy as the time that Cardinal Lake said, yeah, we wanted William Jackson and the Bengals stole him from us, so we took Artie Burns. That was a pretty crazy first round story. This one just kind of validates that they're very happy about the player that they got.
Well, I think what's going to happen now is they're going to really, really even scrub these videos that they put out even more, you know?
I mean, they shouldn't. Who cares? It's a number 7. It's already the pick. It's not like Calvin Fisher said, "Oh, what a terrible pick! Can't believe we took this guy. This was our 37th player on our board." So this is a positive story overall. But yeah, hopefully they don't redact the film. Just one big blur in the background from now on. I don't know. It'll be fine.
All right, that was fun. Right. Nice find.
Thank you. All right, Dave. Let's get back into the tape here. How many cold showers did you need yesterday, Dave, watching Mason McCormick?
My wife says I don't shower enough. So, but I tell you, I needed a cold drink a couple of times. I needed to take a break. I tried to pull up as much of that South Dakota State tape as I could find, and then I went all the way through their Twitter feed for any offensive play dating back to last year to watch some of that. To try to get a better sense of what he can do. Now, there's obviously very little. There's very little all 22 out there when it comes to him, and there is some. I mean, there's the game against North Dakota State that's very easy to find. I was just looking for various things with him, especially things in the run game. Want to see how much they pulled him. I want to see how he was out in space, getting to second level, that kind of thing. And I think as you start going through this, I mean, they asked him to pull quite a bit, it seems like, last season, and he did a pretty good job on it. Not only pulling from left to right, there's times where they'll pull him out from the left guard around the left end as well too. Now a lot of these are obviously low red zone situations that I'm talking about, but I'm going to go watch some more fuller games on him to see what they're doing, like in between the 20s with him and stuff like that there. But a very powerful guy. I think man, he's put together, Alex. I mean, he really is put together, and you just, the deeper you get into his tape, and look, I didn't watch every snap of Richie Incognito's career, but the way this guy is put together and the way he sort of moves, I think he's a little bit taller than Richie Incognito was as well. His demeanor, that's really the kind of the takeaway that I get with him. He can get to the second level. I've got one clip of him releasing on a screen and getting out to the edge. Here's the thing. For a big guy like that, especially when asked to move and redirect and all like that, I mean, it's not flawless, but you do see a lot of the traits backed up to his numbers, like on his short shuttle and his 3-cone and those kind of things, where this guy can move, for a big guy. And just to look at him though, on tape, just the way he looks so massive. I mean, if I had to guess his weight and not know what it was, just looking at him, no way would I think he's 309. I mean, he looks heavier,
It's like so solid, just a solid built dude.
Right. I mean, like a box, know. But it was, because look, I don't commit all these to memory. Some of these things just happen to stick in my memory, but I did not literally remember what his weight was. And I went back after watching all this, like, damn, how much did he weigh? And I went back and looked at the combine. Now, look, could he have lost weight before the combine? That likely. I get, and that's very likely as well too. But I mean, did he lose 11, 12 pounds? I mean, that, what did they list him at on the San Diego? I mean, on the South Dakota State site?
Let me pull it up here. It looks like 315. Yeah, 6'5", 315 was his bio on his team site.
And usually they're going to lie on those anyway. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't list him at like 338, to intimidate people.
Well, I think once you saw him on the field,
right,
probably pretty intimidated.
Right. So my takeaway, look, we talked, over 3,000 snaps at left guard. So most of his work obviously was at left guard. You can do a lot of various things with him. Put him on the move. Things of those nature, get him out to the second level. I mean, some of those poor linebackers, man, that one in particular against who was it? Not Vanderbilt. Was it Vanderbilt? Yeah, may have been Vanderbilt. No, Villanova. That poor kid at the second level, he had no choice to dance with him, and that didn't go very well for that linebacker there. And obviously, you're going to see a lot of that with that being a smaller school in the competition that they faced. Now, I did go back to and watch the cut-ups of 2022 versus Iowa, and there's obviously a lot of Logan Lee in that as well. I thought he represented himself real well in that 2022 tape against Iowa. But I'll tell you this: one guy that did give him a little bit of problem was Logan Lee. Mm-hmm. With that athleticism there. So this isn't a foolproof player by any stretch of imagination. But I think the deeper you get into the tape of Mason McCormick, you can see the reason why he was probably regarded as a fourth round, third, fourth round kind of guy here. I mean, you even look at Dane Brugler's rankings and all, and you go specifically looking for these short shuttle, three cone times and all like that. There's not a lot of, for the guards that have those numbers listed here. There's not many of them that match that of Mason McCormick.
Yeah, again, his RAS was, what'd you say? It was high, over 9.
Yeah, well over 9. Yeah, for sure.
And even to drill that more specifically, we had a post yesterday. Josh Norris, kind of a fantasy football guy, but I think he was at Roto-World for a while. That's how I knew about him. But he's done a study for a long time about the correlation between offensive linemen and short shuttles under 4.47. There's a really high correlation between successful offensive linemen and guys that have a short shuttle time of under 4.47, even to the point where I know when John Lynch talked about drafting Dominic Punai from Kansas, he had talked about they felt confident in his run blocking ability because of that short shuttle time. So this is valued by NFL teams. They can see that correlation that helps indicate change of direction, overall athleticism, especially for kind of more zone-based schemes like Pittsburgh will be running to some degree this year. And McCormick came in at 4.45, under that 4.47 mark, one of just a couple linemen this year to do so. So while he kind of gets his reputation, understandably so, as this kind of big mauling run blocker, there is some real, at least in the testing and some of the tape that you're talking about as well, some real athleticism to his game and some freaky numbers you don't see from a guy, really any alignment in general, but especially kind of a bigger body type like him.
Man, he's a physical player too, and he's got a ton of experience in there. Obviously at South, I keep wanting to call him San Diego State for some reason. South Dakota State.
Because you keep thinking of that Embernati guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so there. But look, you don't spend a 4th round draft pick on a guy like this, just to cut him after the preseason and all like that. So he's going to be on the roster, barring something really, really totally unforeseen there. So and obviously a lot of left guard experience there. It'll be interesting to see how much work he gets, at right guard during camp and OTAs and those kind of things. But I mean, he has said that he's got some experience, albeit probably not all in games, but in practice situations there of right guard and even a little bit of center as well too. I haven't looked specifically for those center snaps yet overall there, but I mean, this guy is a guard through and through. This is kind of an old school guard kind of that you're looking at as well.
What are some weaknesses in his game you saw on tape? It might have been harder to find at the level because he was pretty dominant, but anything he needs to work on?
I think the quickness of the actual when people get in the gaps against him. Now there are some instances in pass protection world, and you're not going to find much offensive line tape that doesn't see this. He'll try to lower his head, and get his head stuck there. I'd like to see him be able to move his feet a little bit faster. It seems like he has problems with guys getting into the gaps in pass rush situations, quickly off the ball.
Did he feel as athletic on tape as the testing suggests? Because my sense is not quite.
No. I mean, look, there you see some aspects of it, but I mean, some of those pulls look like you would expect a guy 320 pounds, would pull,
In the sense of him being slower?
I mean, just it's a big guy on the move. We're not talking about a 220-pound guy here. Kind of sense there. Where I think the quick some of those numbers are less visible is really kind of in the pass rush situations where guys get into the gaps.
Okay, so against one gap penetrators, him trying to mirror or kind of cut off are some issues for him.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's to be expected, I think, overall, based on what I've heard about him in our pre-draft report, and it matches with what you're saying right now. So good information.
All right. As I mentioned, some of that tape I looked at included one Logan Lee, and I think you went down some tape rabbit holes yesterday.
Yeah, obviously there's more all-22, more footage on Logan Lee. I'm going to watch some more, but I put on a couple of games of him late last night, and I came away, understanding he's a 6th-round pick. You're not going to get this sort of perfect prospect. A little underwhelmed with his game in terms of the positives. He's a high-effort guy. He's got a decent swim move. I thought he was a guy, and it's funny you mentioned that about McCormick's issue. It's just that Lee was at his best kind of slanting and one-gapping and shooting in the gaps. Not that he's super explosive, but that kind of was the best thing when he was having the most success to disrupt and penetrate, that there were more issues, him two-gapping with that lack of length. He got stuck on blocks. He's a wrestler, but he wrestles these blocks a lot too. His head's in the block because he really can't create that space. That is a pass rusher, pretty average off the snap. I call him a slow burn pass rusher where he can win, but it takes a while to do so, to kind of get disengaged and work his swim move, for example. He showed a push-pull one time in a swim, which was a pretty nice move against Penn State. Watched him against Fautanu, against the Nittany Lions, a couple reps there on some stunts and twists. And I know he's working contain there, but really kind of got chewed up by Fautanu quite a bit, had more success against their left guard there. He's versatile, though. He played up and down the front. Played in an odd front, which is pretty similar to Pittsburgh. He played nose tackle, he played shade, he played more 3-tech, so he definitely has that versatility. I just thought, a lot of times he was kind of getting stuck on these blocks and kind of getting controlled too much, and that was a pretty recurring theme where I sit there and say, I think this guy will be around the ball a lot in Pittsburgh because he's a high-effort guy. He'll run to the football, he'll kind of be around the pile, but he really won't make a lot of impact plays. So watching the tape more, I was struggling to kind of see how this guy's going to win consistently unless he kind of really works on his technique, because he's not the most athletic guy. He's not the longest guy. His technique's going to have to be really perfect to win consistently.
When he wins, the wins are impressive.
Yeah, again, I think they were more one-gapping, more slanting. He's got some strength. He can hold the point of attack if he keeps his pads down, and can play with good hand. His hand placement is generally correct and allows him to have some sort of anchor. But whenever he, does get turned, he gets washed. And there were some times where, again, guys kind of just really were able to get into him and ride him. But he's a strong, guy. And when he's technically sound, he can hold the point of attack.
What'd you think about the way that rotation they used at Iowa?
Yeah, when I watched the all-22, it just showed me the clips of him. And that's like the one downside of all-22 is you don't get to get a sense for rotation and snap count because you're just watching his snaps.
Especially when they are just about him.
Right. It was just his snaps. It cut up the snaps in which he played. So you do lose that sense of it. But I know that I was pretty famous for a rotation. We had that conversation with Van Ness last year, never technically starting a game, but being a first-round pick, but he was still playing a lot. It just was the rotation Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes used. So What was the snap count last year? I didn't even pull the number on how many snaps he played. But I mean, he was playing, a good amount of snaps per game.
Right. It's not like he was out there for 85% of snaps, I don't think here. Hold on here and I'll pull up his snap count here.
Yeah.
By game.
Okay. I mean, yeah, still playing a decent amount, but yeah, Iowa very much is about their rotation. But there's versatility. I just, again, slow burn pass rusher, a guy that's strong, but will have issues against the run when you kind of when you don't have the length to create space. Because in the run game, you need to create space. So you can shed, you can keep vision on the football. As a pass rusher, you don't want to have space in between you and the block because that might give the blocker time to recover as you make your move and try to disengage and shed. But as a pass rusher, again, not super explosive. There's a bit of bend to his game. I thought bending through contact was something he did a nice job of in terms of primarily run game, but a little bit of pass game as well. He can kind of work through contact, and as you mentioned yesterday, a little bit of lower body hip flexion, ankle flexion to turn and kind of dip through. But I just didn't see it consistently. He would win, but they wouldn't have the explosiveness to really beat the block and allow the lineman to recover. I just didn't really stand out to me in a big significant way.
What do you think about the way he won versus the way, say, Leal or Loudermilk won on their college tape?
I'm trying to even think about how those guys won in college. Leal was a much more varied pass rusher, much more explosive, different body types, certainly. Loudermilk, he's similar to Loudermilk. I think there's maybe a bit more flexibility than Loudermilk, but I'd compare it to Loudermilk in a lot of ways. They try the cross chop and it doesn't work, and they're kind of more no nonsense type rushers.
Right. I think Lee, his wins are more impressive. With Loudermilk, it was that push pull was his, right?
With Loudermilk,
in college, wasn't that kind of his most impressive thing that Loudermilk did in winning?
Truthfully, I don't even remember, to be honest. It's been a couple of years. I know he's used it now. He got a pressure. What game last year? He used that push pull that got a pressure. It was a penalty. It was caught. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Lee, I think is more impressive as a pass rusher. There are some more impressive wins, but it wasn't anything that I think he's going to do super consistently at the next level.
Let's see with Lee last year. This includes the postseason. Looks like 749 snaps.
Okay.
Last year. Looks like how many of them right over what PFF puts nose right tackle, nose left tackle. He had like 114 or actually, if you add in true nose tackle. Looks like 116 of those snaps there. If we go to 2022, his snap total was, let me close that out, 594 in total there on defensive snaps. And then in 2021, snaps on defense were 492.
It looks like primarily playing defensive right tackle, which I guess what they would consider 3-tech to the right side, which is where Cam Hayward sees most of his time. So as you try to get some snaps in there for Cam Hayward, these names are going to be a little tough for us. We got Lee, Leal, and Loudermilk. So we're gonna probably mix those up from time to time. So apologize in advance.
And I guarantee you at some point during the season, probably more than once, I'll have a tweet of Roman Wilson throwing a touchdown and or Russell Wilson catching a touchdown.
Or Payton Wilson doing something. Yeah, running the ball.
Because my fat fingers get going and get ahead of my mind there. So be prepared for some typos when it comes to that. I don't know. Maybe we'll see a Roman Wilson touchdown pass. I don't know. You do. Some people said, who was it? Pauline, shades of kind of Hines Ward, and all like that. I mean, it's tough remembering me a lot of that, but there are a couple of things where you think, I could see a little bit of that Hines Ward where they're getting a little bit of that from. But I mean, that's obviously it's tough on any kid to be compared to a guy like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Maybe from a competitive standpoint, their hands, the selfless nature in which they play, their personality, bit of an edge to them, but still like good dudes overall. But I don't know. Hines was a little more thickly built, and just, I mean, we kind of knew more about the contested catch situations with Wilson as we did Ward. Maybe you can make that comp a bit more, but I don't know. I felt like Ward was a bit more solid than Wilson.
Okay.
From a body type standpoint.
Oh yeah. Especially the further you get into, we'll have to go back and look at some of those rookie season pictures of Hines Ward when he was wearing, what number was he wearing? Was it 14?
15,
15,
15. Yeah, I should know the answer to this, but whatever he was, some teens number.
That first preseason of his, what? No, yeah, it was 15.
Okay.
No, I'm looking at a picture right now. He's pretty put together.
Okay, yeah, that's probably also true. So I get the idea, but wouldn't call him Hines Ward.
Right. I agree. All right.
Tyler Lockett was a decent comp, I think, for Rowan Wilson there. All right, that's like what I got on Logan Lee. Again, I watched some more. Again, no, he's a 6th-round pick. Pittsburgh, though, man, find something you love as much as Pittsburgh drafting 6th-round, 7th-round offensive or defensive lineman. I mean, they do it in 9 of Tomlin's 18 drafts. They've taken a D lineman in the 6th or 7th round, and most have not worked out. Now, granted, most 6th and 7th round picks in general, regardless of position, do not work out. But hopefully, Lee can break that track record.
Yeah, he's got a good defensive line coach there and some good mentors there. So get some sand in the pants and put them into the mix and see what happens with Logan Lee.
Yep. All right, Dave. What else do you have? I kind of a couple more things, but anything else you have, feel free to jump in.
I mean, I think that's the kind of the things that we thought we wanted to cover today, right?
Yeah, there are a couple more things I do want to mention here. Sean Stevens has been invited to Steelers rookie minicamp. He's also going to the Eagles rookie minicamp. He'll go to the Philadelphia first, so there's a chance that the Eagles could sign him. This is a tryout basis, no contract, and so if he impresses with the Eagles, he could catch a contract and not come to Pittsburgh. But assuming and failing to get signed by the Eagles, he will be in Pittsburgh's rookie minicamp 2 weeks from now. That should be May 10th through the 12th, that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Stevens, the cousin of Joey Porter Jr., he's a corner from Ferris State. He impressed at the Michigan State Pro Day, got an invite there. Actually, Pittsburgh wanted to see him at the Michigan State Pro Day, and he tested well, but undersized slot corner from a D2 school.
Who else you going to? Which direction are you going next?
In terms of
you going with Watts? You going to go look at Watts next? Try and see which direction I need to go.
No, I'm gonna watch Edwards, the running back from Georgia, and write the profile on him. That'll be kind of next on my list, and then I'll probably end up watching some Ryan Watts as well.
All right. Once again, I'm gonna try to get this contextualization put together on Roman Wilson out later today or first thing on Tuesday, and then I'll follow that up. I'll dive into the 2021 tape to see how he played outside.
Okay. We should mention as well, we have a new leader in the clubhouse, Dave, from a signing bonus standpoint. We said that Beanie Bishop might be the highest paid undrafted free agent, and I suppose he still could be, but there's a new record holder, which comes with a caveat of it's relative to Pittsburgh. Quarterback John Rice Plumlee received a $35,000 signing bonus, according to Aaron Wilson. For most teams, you don't really react to that in Pittsburgh. To our knowledge, that's the most ever given to an undrafted free agent. Typically, Pittsburgh signing bonuses are maxed out around 20, 25K. Tanner Morgan, the quarterback who came in last year, got 25K. So John Rice Plumlee got a decent chunk of change to sign with the Steelers.
It will be interesting to see, especially with there only being, at least right now, 5 undrafted free agents. Man, you'd have to think, I mean, I know Beanie Bishop's undersized and all like that, but you'd have to think his phone was ringing pretty good towards in the 7th round of the draft, with teams calling up, trying to set up, getting him signed as an undrafted free agent. What I'm getting at is, I would imagine it's going to be a pretty decent signing bonus for him. I don't know if it'll top 35,000 or not, but I mean, it's not like you've got a lot of guys to have to sign the signing bonuses so far. I mean, look, what they'll do is, they'll invite these guys to rookie mini camp. There might be 1 or 2 of those guys that impress, but generally those guys that come out of the tryouts, that they signed. Those signing bonuses are like $1,000, $2,000 or something like that. I guess what I'm getting at is I'm interested to see what the Beanie Bishop signing bonus is.
I am too. Again, I think when it comes to quarterbacks, there's always a premium to pay, whether you're talking in the franchise quarterback, $40 million per year, or you're talking undrafted free agents. And so, maybe it shouldn't be a big shock to see the quarterback get the most. But in number, the salary cap goes up, the signing bonus pool goes up, people get paid more over time. So this just naturally occurs, compared to where things were at 10 years ago. But still interesting, and I think it does confirm he will be playing quarterback for them. They're not going to give a wide receiver $35,000 of a signing bonus and set that precedent. So I had the question, would he play receiver, because he was one for a couple years at Ole Miss. I think the tape suggests he should try receiver, but based on that money, he'll be playing quarterback.
I think at least definitely in rookie minicamp, because they need arms anyway.
They need the guys.
But what is the possibility you get on into OTAs and training camp where the reps get fewer and fewer for a fourth string quarterback like that? Well, I don't think it's not out of the question that he gets some wide receiver snaps, right?
Yeah, I suppose
at
not.
The end of lineman, because you got long lines with them as well. Obviously.
Just you're asking a rookie to play quarterback and wide receiver, but I don't know. He's a really good athlete. They got to find a way to use him in some other capacity than being the fourth string guy getting scraps for reps. So we'll see, but he'll definitely be playing some quarterback, because you're not going to pay that guy $35K to go make the transition to wide receiver.
All right, shall we get to some reader emails?
We will really quickly. I do want to mention as well, Dr. Mel had a fantastic article on Payton Wilson. She'll do an entrance physical, just an injury review for all the Steelers draft picks, but obviously none more kind of compelling than Payton Wilson. It's a really thorough breakdown. It's a ton of stuff I didn't even know about him, popping out both shoulders in the same game and then popping them back in from the dislocation. And the toughness he has is pretty off the charts. She comes away actually pretty encouraged by his outlook and kind of pushes back on some of the scary sounding reporting that Ian Rappaport had made during the broadcast before and after Wilson was selected by the Steelers. So really informative, really insightful. Please go check that out.
Yeah, look, just off that report alone, and the fact that the amount of games that he's played in the last couple of seasons, and you roll back to what Mike Tomlin even said right after they had drafted Wilson, talking about his medicals in, I think that was a call with NFL Network or one of them there. He says, where's the quote specifically? He said, "We had to get comfortable with his medical, and we brought him in on a pre-draft visit. We allowed our medical experts to get to really get a good evaluation of him. We talked to him about his injury history. We were at a place of comfort. And so from that perspective, man, we're really excited about having him." So, obviously he's not going to say we brought him in and boy, those medicals were questionable, but he got to the point where you can't bypass, you're not going to go that way with how you talk about him. But look, I said this about Zach Frazier ahead of the team drafted him as well too. You remember Zach Frazier was hung up in medicals during the interview portion at the combine there, and it got him there very, 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 very late. And he said I think he specifically said there was one team that, or he said something along the lines of one team requested you got to, the extra medicals or extra whatever looks they were doing, you got to do it. I said in my write-up in the mock draft, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers were that team. So it's in other words, I don't think they're, that security guard meme that the people going through the security gate. That guy's
terrible pat down.
Yeah, I don't envision the medicals with any of these guys being that from the Steelers. Quick addition to that. Did you see Bill Belichick on Pat McAfee talking about all that went into signing Randy Moss several years ago?
I listened to most of the broadcast, but I did not hear that. Was that towards the end of the first round? Because I got to pick 23, and then I stopped watching.
I don't remember exactly. I don't know exactly when.
I didn't hear the comment though.
It's in my Twitter feed, and it's on Pat McAfee's Twitter line as well too. it's the story that Belichick tells is absolutely fantastic about having to trade for him and having a short window of time to get him on a plane and get a physical done on him. And in so many words, Belichick says the physical on Randy Moss was pretty much just barely just patting him and saying, yeah, you're good, and all like that. So I know talking about Bill Belichick in a Steelers podcast is not going to go over very well, but it's quite entertaining to see Bill Belichick in that setting outside of that stiff, no emotion kind of guy that he was at the Patriots there. That's a classic story that he tells about Randy Moss there. So if anybody's got free time, and you included, Alex, you ought to go watch that.
Yeah, I'll definitely go check that out. I thought it was really insightful. Some really cool analysis from Bill Belichick. I know that's sacrilegious to say on a Steelers podcast, but it was. I'm sure Pittsburgh did their homework, but they certainly have been comfortable with a lot of medical type guys. So maybe their medical process is just Mike Tomlin saying, "You healthy? All right, you're good. You passed our medical." No, I mean they do their homework, but I think Dr. Mel made a really good case for why Wilson, there should be less concern than there is, and again, he has played the last 2 seasons, so it's not like he's healthy right now. He's good to go day one. There are long-term concerns, but he has proven those kind of doubters wrong the last 2 seasons and been one of the best linebackers in college football.
I'll tell you, and they're Brian Baldinger. I mean, a lot of these top name, Baldinger shows you,
Yeah, he does.
A lot of them, a lot of the top level draft analysts, I really respect. But I mean, a guy like Baldinger, he shows you on tape, what's going on. He's a huge Payton Wilson fan coming out of the draft, or obviously was throughout the process and all. But he's had quite a bit to say about Payton Wilson, and really, really loves the selection. And look, I mean, once again, it's not hard to imagine. We talked about Payton Wilson during the pre-draft process. I mean, he medical, all the injury stuff aside, what's the one thing that we said, man, that guy can move on tape still,
Yeah, the tape wasn't the issue. The medical, I think, was the just a concern with him.
Right. And that's obviously, I mean, and the character's off the charts, man. I mean, so, that's not a reason why he dropped. So yeah, it's the medical that dropped this kid for sure.
Yeah. So Pittsburgh will hopefully take that. I mean, they have taken that risk, and hopefully it'll pay off.
All right. Now, shall we get to some questions?
Let's get to some emails and close out today's show. And just a reminder, we will have our live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, where you guys will, I'm sure, have a bunch of questions about Pittsburgh's draft class.
All right. From Justin Brisbane writes in, does the fact that Fautanu played left tackle for Washington, but not be the blind side tackle due to Penix being a lefty factor into what side he might play on in Pittsburgh? Do the mechanics transfer any easier? Thanks for the excellent draft coverage. I don't watch much college ball, and I get most of my info from these guys from you. Okay. That seems to be a highly talked about thing since he was selected. Does it matter the side that he played due to the handedness of the quarterback?
Yeah, I've gotten that a couple times. I mean, it's a great question for him, I think, and for maybe the team. I get the point, but I still don't think it matters that much, because when I talk about making that transition, it's less about the blind side aspect and the quarterback's vision or lack of vision to a certain side. When you make that switch, where you talk about the changes are the way that you kick slide and push off, you're pushing off with your other foot. The way that you punch, you're punching with your other hand. Your inside hand, outside hands will switch. And those are the muscle memory things that have to kind of get retaught and learned or learned for the first time. I know Fautanu played a bit of right tackle in high school, so I don't know what that muscle memory is like, but everything in your mind flips. The way that you step, the way that you punch, the way that you think about plays. That's to me the biggest change. I mean, who was it? Was it Flozell Adams or somebody? Well, there was the whole wiping with your other hand, but writing for more PG, writing with your other hand, it's like that, where it's the same action physically. You're not any different left hand and right hand, but it's a whole muscle memory type of thing. So Could it help a little bit? I mean, maybe a little bit, but to me, that's not the primary, issue when we talk about moving from left side to right side.
I tell you what I would like, it should be, I tell you what I would like to hear is Mike Tomlin actually asked a question along this. How much does handedness of a quarterback, specifically, left-handed quarterback, play into the decision of a tackle skill set?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Or something along the, you know what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I would love to hear some more information. It's not something we've talked about much because there are so few left-handed quarterbacks. I mean, there's Tua and now Penix, and those are kind of the two guys. And Mike Vick back in the day was a lefty, but again, I understand the point. I don't think it really changes the equation of how easy that transition would be. Maybe he could do it. I'm not saying he can't, but I don't think. Because he was blocking the guy no matter if Penix was left-handed or right-handed. Right. His handedness did not impact the way that Fautanu set and punched and did any of his technical O-line work. So I really don't think it has much of an impact either way.
And look, about these guys switching, I mean, it depends on the player. Some guys, it's just right. they do it like a fish in water, like they're riding a bike, and some of them. Now, look, in Flozel's situation, he had played left tackle just so long. During his career that probably made it even harder for him because of the muscle memory being so set. I would theorize it would probably be easier, and this is just me theorizing, that it would be easier for a younger guy, especially a guy like you mentioned in Fautanu, who played maybe a little bit of right tackle in high school, so he's not that too terribly removed from it. As opposed to a guy like Flozel Adams, as long as he'd been in the league, all those snaps. I mean, it's just like walking down, you don't think anything about it, and then you get into a different side and then you're having to think about it, and I think, boy, that's years ago, but I know we wrote a post specifically about that at some point on the site there. I mean, this is definitely a discussion for because of the fact. Hey, here's where all this is coming from. Everybody wants Broderick Jones over to the left tackle, right? At whatever cost.
Myself included, that's what I was banging the table for pre-draft, yes.
Right. So I guess people are trying to come up with reasons why Fautanu should just go to right, Yeah,
and maybe he does. I don't know what they're going to do. They said maybe they would clarify that. Nobody asked him on the follow-up in that post-pick press conference. Somebody should have asked with him or asked Tomlin and Khan. My guess, and it's just a guess, is that Fautanu will stay at left tackle and Jones will stay at right tackle to begin things, and they'll kind of go from there.
That's my guess, but I gotta admit, I understand all the talk about it because of the handedness of the quarterback and because of people want Broderick Jones over to left tackle, but personally, I'm not, other than talking about it because people are asking about it, I'm not too worried about it, man. Be honest with you.
But don't you want Jones to go over to left tackle? Isn't that?
I do, but I mean, what if Fautanu's tape at left tackle's not bad at all, man. I'm a big fan of not fixing. Although in my personal life, it's a little bit different. I love trying to fix things that aren't broken. But I'm a big fan of other people not trying to fix things that aren't broken, In other words, I mean, because now you've got almost you got a half a season of Broderick Jones at right. I mean, I get it. And I'm not whatever way they deem that this thing needs to go with these two is absolutely fine. It's just I'm with you. My initial thought is that you'll just see Fautanu at left tackle just to see how it goes.
That, and again, you're playing one of your college left tackles at right tackle, so you might as well just keep the guy that's been doing it the last half of the season and has gotten more comfortable there than having Fautanu start there basically from scratch.
And here's the thing: you don't hide tackles in the NFL, so you better play the guy on the side that he's best at.
But what if Jones is best at left tackle and Fautanu's best at left tackle? I think they're both probably best at left tackle.
Then you probably need to look at who's better at right tackle.
Right, and I think it's probably where and why Broderick Jones stays at right tackle. But yeah, you made a good point. If you're going to make the switch, you do it sooner the better. It's like learning a language, O-line. It's like learning a language. The earlier you do it in your life, the easier it is to grasp. If you do it after 13 years of playing left tackle like Flozell, it's a lot harder than year one of trying to make that transition.
Are we getting too caught up with this? And we love minutia. We love deep conversations about this kind of stuff, but are we getting too caught up in it? Are the masses getting too caught up with it?
I mean, from a man who listened to what the senior scout said about the draft board ranking, I can't yell at people about getting into the minutia. I think it is important, especially for when we just went down the road of, okay, Kevin Dotson was out of position and Kendrick Green was out of position. We've had these conversations a lot with O-linemen, and we're having them again. And so I think there's more validity based on the recent track record of what Pittsburgh has been doing. They love playing these guys out of their college position.
We'll get a good sense. I'm guessing. Well, obviously not in rookie minicamp because Broderick Jones won't be at rookie minicamp. So I would imagine Fautanu is going to get left tackle start or snaps in rookie minicamp.
Unless you were going to move him to right tackle. If you were going to move to right tackle, then you pay him right tackle day one, even in rookie minicamp. Yeah.
Well, if that happens, well then that's going to be your answer.
Sure, but if he's left tackle in rookie minicamp, that won't necessarily be an answer of where he'll play. Once OTAs begins. But I think he will be a left tackle.
Well, you're going to be busy during training camp letting us know how many snaps he took where.
Do you think not really, it's a moot question. We'll get our answer, but day one of training camp, is Fautanu taking first team reps at left tackle?
That would be my guess right now.
I'll guess Dan Moore does it. That's how they did it last year.
You mean first team? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see where you're going. I thought you meant at the position.
Well, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, first team over Dan Moore.
Okay, Dan Moore. They'll probably let Dan Moore open up into drills and all like that. Left tackle, first team, probably. Okay. Yes,
I agree.
And then Tomlin will immediately tell you, don't read too much into it.
Sure. And he's probably right, but I think that's how it'll go.
Look, they're at least in my mind, from what we've seen out of Dan Moore so far, and what we know about Fautanu's tape so far, I'm fully expecting Fautanu to be a starter on one of the sides come week one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although we thought that with Broderick Jones last year, maybe to a lesser degree, slightly, and then it obviously did not happen. So we shall see. They like Dan Moore. They're a big fan of Dan Moore.
All right. That question produced quite the conversation. Let's see. Bryce writes in, man, that's a football player they got. Saban, big fan of Fautanu as well, too. Although he didn't he say something along the lines of be a great guard? What was what did Nick Saban say?
We have the post up on the site. I didn't read the comment yet, but he did say top 3 linemen and probably views him as a guard.
Okay. All right. Bryce, man, that's a football player they got in the first round draft. My biggest concern, though, positionlessness. I worry that Tomlin over indexes a little bit of position flexibility, and there's still a question marks about where exactly Fautanu will be maximized. Let's say it turns out to be truly left tackle. Well, we know Jones is best at left tackle and Dan Moore is more of a left tackle. Then we still need a right tackle at some point. Are my concerns legit? I mean, we just had a conversation about all that, so I don't want to go down that hole again. It'll all come out in the wash.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same thoughts as before. We'll kind of see what they want to do to start and go from there.
Jason Council writes in, specifically for the Mason McCormick selection, I'm wondering what the plan is for the Steelers. Are they going to put him at left guard and develop under Sayamalo until his contract ends and to replace him? Or are they going to let James Daniels walk after this year and throw him in at right guard? He says, love the pick, but not sure about what their angle is. What say Jens? Great work covering the 2024 draft. You guys are the best in the business. Thanks, Jason. Look, all those here's my view on this. Obviously, I think, and we talked about this a little bit after in the show the other day, this was a situation where, man, this is just a great guard. We do have a couple of players in the final years of their contract that are guards. We like we like this kind of nature of offensive linemen that we're looking for now. A lot of nastiness in here. You can never have too much depth along the offensive line. As far as where he slots, I mean, look, this team's been really, really lucky as far as injuries go on their offensive line. Mm-hmm. Knock on wood, knock. You're more than likely you're going to have to get into some next man up situations here sooner rather than later. Assuming you don't have to get into that. I mean, I think throughout camp and all, you move McCormick around,
Yeah, if you're a backup, you're going to be versatile. And backups usually don't play just one spot. We'll see what happens with Dan Moore and how that works, but at least left tackle is a premium position. McCormick's going to play both guard spots for sure. I mean, nationally left guard. He may get some center reps. We'll see how they divide up labor. They got Frazier and Herbig and maybe Anderson, McCollum in there. So I don't know how much center time he'll get. Perhaps a little bit. Injuries can impact things in camp, day-to-day type stuff, rest days, etc. But he will certainly work at both guard spots.
I mean, that's another thing that I'm not too overly concerned about, right now, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about that. Really, again, I understand they cross-train these guys, and typically maybe the first couple of days you just play one spot, and then they start moving these guys around and get them in different positions. So I expect that to be the case, and the same with Mason McCormick.
All right, LM writes in about Con Weidel trends. He says, nobody looks at the trends better than you guys. One thing that seems glaring is Con's first 2 years is ignoring medical concerns, trusting their doctors, he says. Darnell Washington and Corey Trice last year, Fautanu and Payton Wilson this year, plus Frazier off an injury. Fine line between great value versus reasons they fell. Think this is something to keep in mind in the future. I mean, look, without a doubt, there's members in this draft class that had to look at the medicals on.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I still plan on writing about that eventually next day or two, but I don't mean to be too pedantic or into semantics, but I wouldn't say that he's ignoring the medical. If you're trusting your doctors, that's not ignoring the medical. That's going off of the medical information your doctors are providing in terms of what their level of clearance and comfort is. So you don't just ignore the medical, you explore the medical aspect of it, but you may just feel more comfortable about the medical situation than another team.
Right. It is something worth noting, like he notes here that sure. Darnell and he got a handful in this class and all like that. Look forward to Dr. Mel running through all these guys as well too. That should be fun. Still Pastor writes in, David Alex, a thought for discussion and perhaps a suggestion for an article. He says, compare and contrast the combine numbers, pro day numbers, and RAS numbers of both Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. Maybe include Dan Moore as well. In addition to compare and contrast the player evaluations, strength and weaknesses for all three players using in-house Steelers Depot evaluations, as well as a few reputable outside sources. I don't know exactly what he's trying to get at, but he wants us to contrast the combine numbers, pro day numbers, and RAS numbers of both Broderick Jones. I mean, we like to look and compare, even ahead of it, because that's the whole what they look for series really ahead of the draft, right?
We look at just the individual testing and height, weight type stuff, but that's what the purpose of that study is, to kind of get an idea of benchmarks this team looks for at certain positions. I mean,
in a way, we do the player evaluate. I mean, is he just wanting to post writ up about all in one? I don't understand what he's trying to get at here. He says, in addition, compare and contrast the player evaluation, strength and weaknesses for all three players that way. Now, I'd rather just talk about them at this point. I mean, because we've got a lot written about the player evaluations to this point, Yeah,
I think we're good the way that we're doing it right now.
Let's see. I think we got through most of them there, Alex, and I've got to get this up on the site as soon as possible because I got an errand to run today.
All right, Dave, we will have our live stream tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Our next podcast will be Wednesday, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. All right. Hopefully everybody enjoyed, talking about some of these prospects today. We will get back together on, what's today? Monday, Wednesday. And as Alex mentioned, we have a live stream later on tonight where we should get a lot of good questions talking about the draft picks and all like that. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, please hit SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, and follow the directions that way. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.